Okay, I don't want to be sarcastic. Well, maybe I do. Kind of is in me. But, my friends, we have an enemy, and he is relentless and ruthless. Paul talks about him often. In our culture, we quickly associate him with, red suit, horns, pointy tail, pitchfork. We have this ridiculous stereotype for a real, diabolical, powerful enemy who is an actual being. I don't know how to visualize Satan, and I'm not sure that you need to. But I do think he's not wearing a red suit. And most of the time, he will do everything that he can to be mainly invisible. Because if you don't see him, or I think worse, don't believe he exists, he's freed up to do pretty much anything he wants to do. And one of the things that he often does, Paul talks about here in 1 Timothy chapter 5, where he's talking to younger widows. And he says, I counseled younger widows to marry, to have children, to manage their homes, and to give no opportunity for the enemy, no opportunity for slander. Now, why would that click into get married, have children, manage your home, and give the enemy no opportunity for slander? Let's look close. What is slander? Well, slander is rooted in false information, all right? And I'm not really clear on the legal definition of slander, but I do know the practical definition of slander has to do with me saying about someone something that is not true in order to diminish or tear down their reputation and identity. So, first of all, who's the enemy? Well, that's not hard. Our enemy is Satan. You may have other enemies, and that whole idea of enemy is pretty relative, right? In sports, if I'm playing a competitive sport, whoever I am playing against is not my enemy, they're merely my competitor. And I think if I want to give it my best, I will consider that I am in competition with them so that their performance can call out my best performance. Well, that's just theoretical, but in business, a competitor, are they the enemy, or are they, again, only a competitor? There are really very few enemies in our world. True, actual enemies. But this one enemy is true and is actual, and we must never, I just keep coming back to this, don't let yourself believe that this enemy is just not real. Oh, he's very real. Okay. So you want to give the enemy no opportunity for slander. What would be an opportunity for slander? That's, I don't know how the only way I can think of to give the enemy no opportunity for slander is to, I guess there are two ways. One is never do anything. Just stay quiet. Just stay out of it. You can't always do that. And it's probably not and that's more That's more denial than it is living within reality. And a second way would be to conduct yourself in a upright manner, demonstrating integrity. When I demonstrate integrity, I give the enemy little to no opportunity to slander me. Now, the enemy is going to see, because slander is about false accusation. It is falsely portraying or proposing that a person, me in this case, is not who I am. I mean, you see, if somebody says that I'm better than I am, that's not slander. Slander is about someone saying I am worse than I am. Now, the counselor in me just feels like I have to go here. Okay? Who does the enemy slander you most to? Well, I'm not ruling out the fact that he slanders us to other people in our lives. And the more important these other people are, the more damaging the slander is. Okay. Yeah. But in my life, the one who the enemy slanders most often is me to me. See, the enemy always wants to tell me lies about myself. And there's a word for that. The word is shame. Because the enemy always wants to slander me so that I will believe the lies about myself. The primary core lie of this slander that I call shame is you're not enough. For me, from the time I was a little kid, you're not tall enough. You're not socially enough because your old man is a preacher and you guys have no money and you live in a crappy rented house. You're not enough. You're not cool enough to sit at the cool kids table. You're not enough. You can't do math. You're stupid. Okay, on and on it goes. The main message of shame, the main slander is you're not enough. And he goes on. The slander doesn't stop with that. It goes on and it says, oh, you never will be. This is very, very powerful. I'm 68 years old. Just this week, I have heard this slanderous message screeching in my mind. You're not enough. You're not good enough to help this couple move through the really difficult moment they are in their marriage right now. And if they are in your care long enough, they'll discover you're a fraud. Because you are not enough. Oh, and you're never going to be enough. So quit. Well, go ahead, knock yourself out trying. But I'm just telling you, you'll never be enough. Huh. What do you do about shame? Well, it's not a simple answer. Well, maybe it is. I could probably just say, don't believe it. Don't believe the slander. Because it is slander. Just quit believing it. It doesn't work that way. It's not that easy. It might be simple, but boy, is it not easy. How do I quit believing it? For 60 years or more, I have believed it. I have treated it as though it was truth. I'm learning how to believe this slander less and less over time, but it still is a problem for me. Here, I'm just going to share this. I believe is an application for every believer. It comes down to Satan wants to take every opportunity and make every opportunity to slander you to yourself. I call that shame. What do you do about shame? You don't kill it with one bullet. Using the death metaphor, you starve it to death. This is not quick. It's not sanitary. It's very messy, and it takes, for some of us, including me, a long time to happen. How do you begin to starve this slanderous shame message? You're not enough. Well, one of the ways is that you have to remind yourself that, okay, in the case of this shame message that says you're not enough, it's almost right. Because on my own, I am often not enough. And he'll utilize that fact, or he does in my life anyway, all the time. But I have to remind myself that there is something that God has given me that is enough. It's His grace. I don't want to bend it out of its context, but Paul wrote, 3 times I asked God to remove this thorn in my flesh, and each time he said, no, my grace is enough. Not your effort, not your labor, not even your intention. My grace is enough. Teaching myself over time to reject this shame message is not the only thing. It's the starting point. Okay, I have to reject it for the lie that it is. And then I have to replace it with the truth that God's grace is enough. In spite of the fact that I'm only 5'6". If I wear shoes with a good heel, 5'7", not 6'2". In spite of that, God's grace is enough. In spite of the fact that I can't math myself out of a wet paper sack. I'm horrible at math. In spite of that, God's grace is enough. Does His grace make me a good mathematician? No. But His grace is enough for me to be enough. I've got to reject the lie, and I have to replace it with the truth, and then I have to rehearse it in my mind over and over and over. To not give the enemy opportunity for slander does have to do with me living a life of integrity. But that comes out of me believing the truth that God's grace is enough. Well, that's pretty highly theoretical. And I got to leave it right there because my time's up. I'll see you next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.